Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of CS Cyber. I'm Chad.
I'm Sean.
And today we're actually taking a break from our Aqua Guardian series, and we wanted to bring you some recent updates from the Ohio House and House Bill 96 that was recently passed this week. It's got some pretty, it's got some cybersecurity implications in it. So really, like, cybersecurity is no longer optional for local governments.
Yeah, it's not. So this is pretty much a late-breaking update. We knew that there was some legislation that was pending out there where they were trying to position local governments to be more up to speed and implementing cybersecurity controls and standards. And it's here. It was here a lot faster than I thought it was going to get here. So yeah, House Bill 96, it was signed Monday night.
Yeah. So specifically, it's mandating that communities have cybersecurity programs in place, right? So
yeah, political subdivisions need to have a program, basically.
And that's anything. So that's schools, that's local governments,
cities, townships, counties, anything. So that's what we're gonna go over today. So we're gonna answer some real quick questions. There's a lot to unpack with this. So let's just kind of go in and digest what this bill said and what local governments need to position themselves for now.
Okay.
So really one of the first things is you need to have a program. And one of the first things people are going to ask is what the heck is a program? All right. So there are a lot of cybersecurity standards out there.
Yep.
There's NIST, the National Institute for Standards and Technology. There's it's called the CSF, or the Cybersecurity Framework. There's the Center for Internet Security, the CIS controls. And typically what we do is we recommend the CIS controls.
Well, I mean, we lead with that, right? But it really depends on like the entity and the agency. A lot of our platforms actually map to multiple frameworks at the same time. So you pick a framework, you start aligning with it. There's so much overlap in frameworks that if we can map to multiples, that normally works out best, and that's how we do it.
So let's talk about kind of what would go into a program initially, right? So identifying and addressing critical functions and cybersecurity risks of that specific entity. So basically that's an assessment, right? Having somebody come in and do a third-party assessment and assess where in the world you are today and where the gaps are. That's probably number one.
Right. Against the standard framework, right? Not just willy-nilly. Come in. It's got to be aligned with that framework.
Yep. And again, like we come in, we're going to probably walk you through the CIS framework. I think it's one of the easier ones to digest and get started on, and you can always like graduate up to NIST CSF, just my opinion.
Yep.
All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to, based on that data, we're going to identify the potential impacts of a breach. Yep. So how risky are you? Where are those entry points? What can be fixed? That type of thing. Yeah.
So those are really the gaps. Those are helping us build a task list to kind of prioritize those gaps, and then what's critical, what's high, medium, low, right? And really kind of focus your attention on things that matter, right? Versus just chasing kind of the wind and what feels right.
Yep, absolutely. And then we're going to keep going through the process here, and we're going to evaluate out of that assessment like how you're architected today to even detect and respond to an event. So what do your security controls look like today? What IT systems do you have in place? Kind of that whole evaluation.
Right. What policies and procedures do you have today?
Yeah, and great segue. So what specific procedures do you have? Communication channels, how can you analyze and respond to incidents, taking actions, and that can be in the form of what's called an incident response plan. Yep. And many of you out there in Ohio and local government have already have cyber insurance, and you may have gone through some related process where they've kind of walked you through, hey, if you want a policy, you've got to do X, Y, and Z. And usually policies and procedures, incident response plans, tabletop exercises, and all those things are in there. So, and then one of the most important things that they really hit on is training.
Yeah. So we've talked about this before on other podcasts and other episodes. training is by far the most cost-effective thing you can do for your organization, right? It's low cost per user. It's high value. It multiplies your cybersecurity, force, and you have a lot of people knowing what to look for. So, key.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we've been building out over the last couple of years. We've been building out I'd call it a next generation cyber training program system that we use to deliver this type of training. Our particular platform is called Cywareness. It's similar to a KnowBe4 and some of those products out there. But one of the things that we can do differently is we can produce our own cybersecurity training and series and load them into this platform. So what does that mean for you as a local government? It means that similar to some of the stuff that we've been doing on this podcast with the water and wastewater piece, is it gives us the flexibility in using this wonderful studio that we're in and the technology that we've invested in. It gives us the ability to be more tactical. It got us on the air this morning, creating a podcast quickly and adapting to the industry where we can get this information out faster. So that's just one of the things that we can do. There are some state training and things that are out there as well. There's the OCIC, the Ohio PCI. There's some state programs out there, but generally these are one and done, right?
Yeah, and I would say, the bill references this Ohio Cyber Reserves, I think, several times, and while that's great, it's limited resources there.
Yeah, no, it's a volunteer force. We're not here to discourage anyone from using any of those resources. We encourage you to evaluate all of those options. Obviously, as a private sector organization, we have dedicated resources. We're not pulling from a volunteer force. We pay these people here. The training that's involved with these folks. But if you need to aggregate your program and you want to do some of that first, and just involve it in your decision making process, just the benefits of working with a private organization obviously is number one. We are private. So we have no obligations to necessarily report anything to the state of Ohio. Everything that we do is all contained in private inside our organization. We work for you as a contracting agency. We entered into an agreement, and I don't know. There's a lot of benefits of working with private sector versus consuming public resources like that.
And I think the House kind of took that into consideration, right? Because they have grants available for that. They just don't point to the Ohio Reserves, but that is an available resource as well as the grants and things to get some of this done.
Yeah, and I will tell you, we work alongside the Cyber Reserves. I am a Cyber Reservist in Ohio, as well as many of our staff here. And we have been forming relationships with them to make sure that we're working together and not competing with each other. Right. Which I think is very important to have a public-private partnership, and they see that as well. So kudos to the reserves. Colonel Baker, if you're out there listening, he's been very influential and working with us and making sure that we have a collaborative effort. So, all right. So how much time do they have to get this done?
No timelines set, of course. Right. No timelines.
Yeah. So if you read into it, which you don't have to. So the bill was signed. So technically, it's enforced because it was the budget bill, right? So the budget's in there, it's been passed, and it's active today. However, because this is new legislation, 90 days is the time frame. So that would be until September 30th. What we're trying to do is keep the auditor of state off your back. They will be the auditing force that's going to do that and keep you on track. All of you know who in Ohio, if you're a municipality, know that you get audited from the auditor of state, and they're going to include these audits in that process. We've actually already seen that happening even prior to this. Not saying that by September 30th you have to have this done. There's a lot to do in here, but I think as long as you can make some movement prior to September 30th and show an auditor that you are making progress, it's been in our professional experience that helps.
Right. You got to start moving down the path, right? And show a good faith effort and start implementing some of these things. And we really have turnkey solutions to help you get started, right? I mean, it can be a time-consuming effort, but we have tools in place to really kind of jumpstart that and help you along the way.
Yeah, we kind of have a kind of an Ohio cyber compliance package already built that we've already had in process. So yeah, we can help with that very fast.
It just so happened to align almost perfectly with this legislation.
Well, we kind of knew this was coming. So
yeah.
All right. So lastly, before we kind of end this out here, there is a big notification requirement that's in this now. So organizations in Ohio, specifically political subdivisions, are required to notify the state of Ohio and specifically the Division of Homeland Security in a timely manner if you were to have an incident. So those guidelines are outlined in the bill and give you the steps on how to do that. So that's just something. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. One thing I wanted to hit on there, I don't know if you were getting to it yet, but it also calls out that there's no more paying ransom, right? If I spit out your coffee. Yeah,
I did.
So,
yeah. Wow.
So if that's in your playbook, you need to get rid of it, right? So really start testing your backups, like thinking about how you would recover from something like that.
Yeah, I don't know how this is going to go down. So we need to unpack this a little bit more, and I'll let everyone know on Thursday, was that July 7th? We're having a webinar. Is that July 7th?
That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The 11th, maybe?
The 10th, sorry. So on Thursday, July 10th, I have a webinar at 11, I think. We'll post the webinar information in the notes. And we're going to have a lot more information to dive into. But as far as ransomware payments, are you familiar with OFAC, the Office of Foreign Asset Control? So there was already a requirement out there basically that you can't just pay ransom because there's a process that you're going to have to go through to make sure that you're not funding a terrorist organization.
Right. You can't pay terrorists.
No, you cannot pay terrorists. So I think that's what this bill is doing. It's kind of writing on that. It's going to be very interesting to see how this is going to play out for a local government that gets attacked that has no other option but to pay. My guess is there'll be some type of something that will be worked out because there's payment requirements.
Yeah.
So if you have to pay, I think they're going to make you walk through a very specific process before you, because essentially you're releasing public funds too.
Well, I think there was wording in there where you had to hold a public hearing before you could do that. So there was like a workaround per se, but I mean,
yeah,
who wants to do that? Like, who wants to be the guy standing up there holding that public hearing? You know?
Right.
So,
yeah. No, absolutely. So we'll unpack that in the webinar as well. So,
right.
But that pretty much goes over. If you're a city manager, a township administrator, a city council member, this is something that should be directly on your radar right now, because you're going to have to make some progress. Something needs to be initiated in the next 90 days.
Right.
All right.
All right. So this is a great episode. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time with Aqua Guardian, unless something else happens.
Right.
So.
And we'll see you on the webinar next Thursday as well.
All right. Thanks.
See ya.